van! You hear it?
It is necessary for the recording of sound to convert the sound waves to corresponding changes in light. The sound waves produced by my voice are transmitted through the air to the microphone, where these sound waves are converted to changes in an electric current. These variations in the electric current are then amplified and used to control the light. This varying beam of light falling on the photoelectric cell produces variations in the electric current, which are directly proportional to the variations in the light beam. The sound track. As the varying electrical current in the photoelectric cell is small, a vacuum tube amplifier is required to increase it to the point where it will operate a loudspeaker. Sound track.
Welcome to the Occult Rejects. In today's episode, I am lucky enough to have on Simon. He had contacted me, probably, we've been going on for a conversation for a while now. My apologies. But he had contacted me probably about, I'd say probably almost 2 months ago. And he had come across the channel, and I guess he's a listener. And he had hit me up asking me if I'd be interested in having him come on and cover some of the research he's been doing. And one of the big things that he is into, that he has told me, is Hermeticism. And I am very intrigued on that. And I said that is a perfect topic for this show. So today I have Simon from the Library of Gnosis. Thank you so much, Simon. Especially with the whole weird hour change. You're in another country, I'm over here. I appreciate you working around the schedule. Let everybody know, I mean, I already told them you're Simon, but let everybody know what your deal is and, like, you know, where they can find your stuff and, like, you know, what you're into so people can go check you out.
My pleasure. Yeah, you can find my stuff at the Library of Gnosis. I'm into the esoteric, the occult, alchemy. I do some economics. And some science too. Yeah, indeed.
Oh wow, okay. And where are you located again?
I'm from Sweden.
Yes, yeah,
northern Sweden.
Yeah, just letting everybody know that I got a somebody
representing.
From there you go. I think you are the first person from Sweden I've had on. So. You know.
Oh really?
Yeah, for sure. I think so. Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all. So yeah, you do have a YouTube. You have the YouTube, the Library of Gnosis. I do have your link in the bottom for that as well if people want to go check his stuff out. He's got a bunch of videos out, and I definitely suggest to go check out his channel. Real quick, if you don't mind me asking before we get into it, what was it that, how did you end up even getting into this stuff? How did you even get into Hermeticism? What was it that, like, piqued your interest, if you don't mind me asking?
Does drugs work? Psychedelics.
You know, I have heard of a lot of people actually say stuff like that. That, like, psychedelics or drugs kind of open them up to getting into weirder stuff. So.
Yeah, I'd say so. A lot of psychedelics. I'm kind of a psychonaut.
Oh, are you? Okay.
So I don't cover that on my channel ever. I try and keep it professional, but I don't want to hide things.
Oh, yeah, no, that's great. Well, if you went into it too much, actually, I don't even know how YouTube is with that stuff, but you might be better off not actually talking about that stuff too detailed on there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so psychedelics got you into Hermeticism. There you go. All right, so I guess wherever you want to get going, I know you also do have, I don't want to spoil it now, but I'm just going to say it anyway. I do think you also said you wanted to try to kind of point out similarities between Thoth, Tahuti, whatever people call him, and Jesus. And I actually found that extremely interesting, especially with the stuff that I've been covering on the Occult Rejects. You know, with like Thoth, I can see like the hero's journey, especially on the Tree of Life, where you can follow Thoth. So, I mean, I could easily see how Jesus had his own hero's journey. So I am definitely interested on hearing this. So wherever you want to begin, I guess, this is up to you.
Yeah, let's start with as above, so below.
Sure.
I'm sure you heard of it. Everybody's
Yeah.
heard of it. It comes from the Emerald Tablet of Hermes, not to be confused with the Emerald Tablet of Thoth, which is channel material, actually.
Have you
Billy
ever heard of?
Carson released-
Have you ever heard of the? I'm sorry to interrupt you. The Law of One, where they like thought they were channeling
Yeah.
Ra. Yeah. I thought that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
All right, sorry.
No worries. So Billy Carson released his compendium of the Emerald Tablets.
Yes.
But the funny thing is, he thinks it's the original Emerald Tablet. He doesn't know it's channel material. So he released the whole book not knowing that. And now he thinks he's...
Yeah, I know.
I find that kind of hilarious.
You know what? And I don't really know much about that guy at all. But I mean, the thing that I do find funny though, it's just like you see this happen to a lot, like with a lot of shows. They will find something that's like old news among conspiracy theorists, and then like just start talking about it again, and it's like somehow all of a sudden they get popular. And it's like, this isn't like, I don't know. I feel like the guy got big off of something that like most conspiracy theorists and occultists were like, yeah, and you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I hate to sound like a dick. It's just weird. But go ahead.
Yeah. So, Hermeticism is kind of similar to Gnosticism in a lot of ways. Gnosticism, where we get the word gnosis, which is personal knowledge of the divine. And that both Hermeticists and Gnostics use gnosis as a term of direct knowledge of the divine, instead of using dogmatic, like churches and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of ties into psychonautics, you know?
I could see, even with gnosis, like even the word hermeticism, depending on how you want to play off of it, like a hermetic engine, it's sealed. You know, it's like a sealed engine. So I could even see like, you know, the sealed knowledge. You got to figure out like the knowledge that's hidden or sealed from. So I could see gnosis and hermeticism going along like that.
Yeah. So alchemy is very important in Hermeticism.
Yes.
One name for alchemy was actually the Hermetic art.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it very much ties in astrology and alchemy. And I would say mathematics too, in a sense.
Well, I do
I'm not going to get into squaring the circle quite yet.
Okay, well, I was going to say, I think mathematics, like, you could apply that to, like, almost everything, really, in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, I think I had somebody on my show one time said that they thought, like, it was just, that math is a way of just, like, measuring the energy that, like, you're experiencing, or the frequency. So, you know, math is, you know, I guess a non-denominator. It's a commonality, in my opinion. It's like the thread that runs among everything. All right, so go ahead.
I would call the Hermeticism the science of the metaphysical. It applies that it is believed that you can be philosophically comprehend God through reasoning.
Yes.
Yeah, and what separates Hermeticism from Gnosticism is that Gnostics think this is a fallen world, a trap for your soul, while the Hermeticists see the world, the universe, as a beautiful creation made in God's image. So that kind of separates them. They're very similar in a lot of ways, but that separates them.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. That's actually a good way to put it, because a lot of Gnostics will, I mean, I even sometimes almost kind of say it myself, like, you know, I question, is this actually hell to begin with? So I could see, like, kind of like Gnosticism.
Prison planet.
Yeah, they tend to think more of that, and I think what you said, Hermeticism, is like, oh, this is like the beauty and creation of God. So that's actually a very interesting difference. I never really thought of that.
Yeah. So, to get into my main argument about Hermes, Thoth, Quetzalcoatl, whatever name you want to use, we need to get into the Prisca Theologia. Have you heard that term?
No.
it translates as ancient theology, and it's one of the, I know the Rosicrucians use it. It's the idea that all religions sprung from one primordial source of wisdom, of true theology. So every other religion are just offshoots of the one true religion. And for instance, in the Bible, we have the Elohim, which is commonly mistranslated as God. But it's actually a plural, meaning gods. We made man in our image, in our likeness.
You know, something I want to ask you, I have seen, it seems to be a thing that I don't know if it's changed or people's opinion or what, and maybe I can just get your opinion on it as well. When it comes to, like you just said, it means gods. From my opinion, from things that I have seen, and knowing a little bit, I guess, about Hebrew from occultism and magic, it does seem to appear to be a plural in a male and female sense. It's almost like a mixture of two words. Now, I've seen people disagree with that and say that's wrong now. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, not actually. I just know that El is God singular. Yes. And I think that's a male pronoun.
Yeah, and I thought
as in like the father.
Mm-hmm. I'm almost pretty sure that like that word really is constructed of like a male and a female. I could be wrong though.
Sure. I can imagine it. I think there are female gods, there are goddesses, and there are gods. That's my personal religion, I would say. So you wanna start with Thoth then?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. Let's go with Thoth. It's my boy.
So myth suggests that Thoth is actually the creator deity, and it says in the Egyptian mythology that he created himself through the power of language. And have you heard of the Logos?
Yes, I have.
Yes. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So that's the thing that connects Thoth to Jesus or God. He was also known as the voice of Ra.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I would say.
So, I mean, that's almost like a messenger in itself, too. I mean, he's also considered a messenger, so I could see that.
Yeah, sure. Jesus is considered a messenger, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And 1 Enoch, Book of Parables, presents two figures, the Son of Man and Enoch. First, these characters seem like separate entities. Enoch views the Son of Man enthroned in heaven. Later, they prove to be one and the same. So I'm connecting Enoch to as Hermes or Thoth, a reincarnation of him. And Enoch was one of the few characters in the Bible to enter heaven alive. He was turned into the angel of Metatron.
Yeah. Metatron's like, even in the Kabbalah, that's like the last thing before God, kind of. Like, that's...
It is? I'm not too familiar with
Kabbalah. Yeah, well, in Kether, there's like 4 levels to each sphere, and like the second to top one before you get to God would be Metatron. So
there we go.
Real quick, I wanted to ask you something you just forgot what you said earlier. Were you also saying you thought like Thoth could be associated with the Elohim as well?
Yes, he's one of the Elohim.
See, because I could see that making sense, because like according to like Thoth's story, like I could be wrong, but as far as I know, like he claims, or there's stories of he was there to watch the existence of the universe come to being, and he was there with his little pen and paper naming everything. This is this, that is that, this is this, that is that, that's a cabbage.
Describe of the gods.
Yes, like even in American Gods. I don't know if you saw that. When they went to go see Thoth, he was sitting there naming everything. Oh, you're cabbage, you're this, you're that. So it's almost like I could see, like, when you're doing that, are you creating things in your likeness? You're the one who's actually technically creating it in a sense. You know?
Interesting.
Yeah, to look at it that way, I could see that. You know,
Adam was tasked to name all the animals. That's an interesting connection.
Oh.
I can't remember where that's from. It's from some text.
Yeah.
Oh, and for those, now we've covered Hermeticism. For those who want to delve further into researching Hermeticism, I recommend the Corpus Hermeticum, the Asclepius, and of course the Emerald Tablet. Then we have the newer Hermeticism, like Neo-Hermeticism, I would call it, not the original texts. Is the Hermetica and the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the channel material, I would say, is a pretty good place to start. Or the Kabbalion, of course. That's
oh yeah.
Have you read it?
Yo, I think that is an amazing, like, 90-page book. I think everybody should have that book and read it.
Yeah.
I mean, for such a small book, there is a lot in there. You know, I think it's a must read, I think, if you're into this type of stuff. You know, I think even applying those principles just like in a mundane way, you'd be a happier, more centered person. You know?
Okay. So one of Jesus's title was the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd lays down his life for the flock and so on. And that also so happens to be one of Hermes' titles. Hermes Kreoporos, which means the ram bearer. So he's literally saying in the Bible, I am the Good Shepherd. Hermes. Another interesting connection with Hermes, I think like Hermes is a reincarnation of Thoth, or just the same character with a different name. It's
yes, no, I totally.
That's where
I
we get
totally agree with that.
That's where we get Hermes Trismegistus. Trismegistus is Tride's greatest, and that was one of the titles for Thoth.
Yes,
and then they just connected it with Hermes Trismegistus. One interesting connection is that.
Oh, you know, real quick, I also, you know, you did mention before, like, you know, the sheeps or shepherds. I mean, I know they don't look the same, but if you think about it, like Hermes has a staff, he has a caduceus. You know, you have other biblical figures with staffs in their hands as well. You know,
that reminds us of his role as a healer, the caduceus.
Oh, you know. You can, and I'm sorry, I'm like totally interrupting you, but I'm sure this stuff all goes along.
No, go ahead.
And I've mentioned it plenty of times, and I really think people, like, you just really should watch it. I think it's called, like, the Art of the Dark Ages or something, and it was done by Timeline, and they end up going back, like, they try showing the Art of the Dark Ages, and they're like, was it really that dark where there was so much spiritual stuff being made? And they do focus on, like, the three Abrahamic religions. And when they focus on Jesus, I mean, they even do point out, like, in some old art, like, I mean, they have art of him, like, with it looks like a magic wand in his hand, like, touching people and healing them. Like, you're good. So it's like, you know, even in architecture, Jesus has been depicted with some sort of staff in his hand healing people. So, I mean, again, with this wooden staff, you know, it's just, you do see that a lot throughout many different religions and stories.
Just as Moses lifted up the serpent on the mountain, so the Son of Man must be lifted up. That's another connection. That's, it gets me into the Garden of Eden.
Do you think that story of Moses lifting up the snake is literal? Or do you think that's actually like a very deep encoded story?
Both, maybe. No, I think it's encoded. I think everything in the Bible. I think very literally.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. I do think it probably definitely means something, but I had someone on my show mention, and I would love to take the credit. They said, and I was like, you know what? I never thought about that. Now, there's tons of people. Isn't there like millions, maybe? There's a ridiculous amount of people there, supposedly. You mean to tell me the person all the way in the back of that crowd is going to be able to see that snake in Moses' hand? You would need like a billboard. You would need a billboard for somebody to see you. They're like, how the fuck were you even going to see Moses from there? I was like, that's because you know how that many people. I mean, that's a distance. You know,
binoculars.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't think those were invented yet.
No, I don't know. So, you know, I did start to wonder, like, you know, could that just be like metaphorical? But continue on, my bad.
Yeah, I think a lot is metaphorical and allegorical and mathematical even, I would say. So the serpent, let's get to that. The serpent in the Garden of Eden, who elevated, I would say the serpent elevated the consciousness of humanity. They could see good and evil. It's like a higher state of consciousness. And this is the link I found so interesting. In alchemy, the serpent represents Mercury. It's a symbol for use from Mercury, the Roman counterpart to Hermes. So there's a tie-in there, the symbolism.
You know what's this is even tying into I just finished a 3-part series on the eyes for occult symbolism, and I'm more than likely probably going to be doing like an addendum to a 4th part, because there was stuff in the eyes that when we originally started covering it, we weren't actually looking at, and just by chance I happened to I wanted to start running numbers on parts of the eye. So I started Googling instead of going through the notes just to look for parts so I didn't have to go through everything. I was like, oh, there, you know. And I saw something like the Zonules of Zin, and I was like, yo, what the hell is that? I didn't even hear of that. And they do it. There are things that attach to your lens in your eye. And will actually will control your pupil and make it get bigger or smaller depending on if it's making the lens thinner or thicker. But it comes out and attaches just it looks like a serpent's tongue. How it splits at the end, it attaches like that, and then the small little stick comes back. And that's what's in charge of lowering and raising your lens, making your pupil big or small. And you're talking about the snake and the good, it's the sight of good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil. You're talking about raising and lifting your lens and looking at different ways of seeing. And the snake tongue, it just sounds like, and there was a lot of Hermes popping up with parts of the eye and weird stuff when I covered it. So, I mean, to me, this really is now thinking about the snake tongues from the caduceus, and looking how they look like the Zonules
by touching them.
Yeah, so I'm like, damn, there's so much stuff that I missed that we're actually gonna do one more episode because of that. But this is really what you're saying is just reaffirming to me that I think I might actually be onto something with that.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
So Hermes was, of course, the master of rhetoric, and Jesus as well was a master of rhetoric. That's one other thing that connects them. And Jesus was born of a heavenly father and an earthly mother, and we find the same with Zeus, and Maya was the name of Hermes' mother. Maya, Maria, there's one letter difference.
Sorry, I was typing in the chat. Sometimes I get confused with what's going on. That's why sometimes I try not to even really pay attention to it, because I can get lost. My bad. All right, you can go.
Yeah. I can go. Hermes is the god of balance as well, and of liminality between merchant and customer, for example. And this particular property of him makes him a transcendent god, because have you heard of squaring the circle?
Yes.
So though, for those who don't know, it's the task of making a circle with the same area as a given square, or vice versa. But it's an impossible task to do, because to calculate the area of a circle, you use the radius squared times pi. But pi is a transcendental number, meaning that it never ends. It's 3.14, blah, 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 blah. It never ends. So you'll never get a perfect number. You will always get on an odd number, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it makes the task impossible.
Have you ever thought if that's what the compass and square is with the Masons? I mean, that would be, you know, drawing a circle and a square.
I have. That is what it is.
I've even, I was telling somebody how I, you know, the whole circle and the square thing. There's this guy, Tricky, that I used to listen to back in the day, and he has a song, and I truly do. I mean, if you watch the video and listen to the song, you'll obviously think something's weird about it, but it's called Hell is Round the Corner. And I'm like, yo, how much of a play off words where, like, it's hell is the circle, not the square. So, you know, hell is rounding the corners. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we're supposed to have corners. Maybe it's not supposed to be round. I don't know, you know. So.
I would say, like, in the beginning, in Genesis, the first line of the Bible, I think it's, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's, in the beginning, God created the heavens, circle, and the earth, square. So you find mathematics encoded there in the Bible.
Yes. Oh, for sure. I totally agree with that.
So I find, have you heard of Abraxas?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Yes. So I find Hermes and Abraxas very similar.
Oh, yeah.
I think, yeah. God of liminality, God of balance, being able to decide between chaos and order and integrate them harmoniously to the opposites, the square and the circle.
Well, you know, that's interesting, because even where Thoth is on the tree of life, he would fall on Hod. And the symbol is a hermaphrodite. And, like, even sometimes, depending on, like, whose book or whatever you're looking at, sometimes they even almost make it look like Thoth's got, like, you know, tits. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, you'll see them actually, like, kind of, like, mixing male and female and making Thoth look like that instead. And so, I mean, like, even you saying the balance and all that stuff, I could, you know, going by Kabbalah, it does look to seem to be an area where you do have both energies mixed together, you know?
Yes, and Enoch, or Metatron, was said to be the closest soul to God, which is an interesting, I mean...
Yes.
If I would just tell you, like, who's the closest soul to God, you would say...
Oh, Jesus. Most people would probably say that right away.
Yeah, right. Right. So, that's another connection there with Metatron.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I think that is a good point, yeah. Well, and you know what? I mean, again, going back to Kabbalah, which, you know, I think kind of does go hand in hand with Hermeticism. You know, on the sphere underneath, like if you were to go down the middle pillar, you would have Kether, and then, you know, Metatron would fit on there too. But like the next sphere down, going down the middle, would be the sun, and that's where Jesus fits anyway. He would fit there. So, I mean, technically, if you want to start looking at, you know, Pat's and on the tree, I mean, they're both the next thing kind of to God, regardless, in a sense.
What's the closest planet to the sun?
Venus, right?
Mercury.
Oh, no, why was I thinking Venus? Yeah.
Mercury. It's as above, so below.
Oh, that's great.
Am I blowing your mind yet?
You know, that one was good. That one was good. You know, and I've said this plenty of times before. I don't know if maybe you see it, but I watch stuff on planets, not because I actually believe what they're telling me, that there's still these planets out there, as I actually think there's layered occultism in what they're saying about the planets. You know, I think if you start looking at numbers and math and stories, you know, or like how many moons that has, and like you think of like kids, whatever, it's just, you almost start seeing like commonalities if you just like kind of take the facts, you know. But that's interesting. Yeah, it's the first one to the sun.
And like we were mentioning, the which side of the Kabbalistic tree of life is Mercury on? It's female, right?
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Yes. But he's always depicted as male.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing that I always thought was weird. And then on the male side, on that same part of the tree, you have a chick. You know what I'm saying? And what I think yes, and what I think the problem is, honestly, it's I think it's showing you that like the Ghostbusters was saying, you're not supposed to cross the streams. You know, I think like streams or energy is getting crossed and mixed when it's not meant to be. And then this is like the byproduct of it, in a sense. And, you know, and plenty of other levels and layers, but something in that effect.
Yeah, I would say Hermes is the silver lining of the yin and yang. He encompasses both yin and yang.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting with the S.
Yeah. So this is a bit above my head to go into, but the pyramid, it squares the circle. If you calculate how it's built. The squaring the circle is encompasses in the architecture.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And yeah. So in the Emerald Tablet of Thoth, now I for a long time thought the Emerald Tablet of Thoth was the original Emerald Tablet, but it's not. It's channeled, of course. But in it mentions that Bildadai, the Great Pyramid, patterned after Earth Force. So it like ties in the building of the pyramids with Thoth.
Oh.
And you have 3 pyramids which mirror the stars of Orion. You heard of that, right?
Yes, yeah, that I know, yes.
Yeah. That's and who visited Jesus when he was born? 3 kings, 3 wise men.
Oh yeah, and then you have the thrice great. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? I don't think a lot of people even know too is like Thoth was also the one like when Isis brought Osiris back to death. It was Thoth that gave her the supposed magic spell to do it. You know, so I mean, this guy's like involved in a lot of shit.
Yeah, well, I would say like he feels like the character with God mode on. He's like the storyteller of the universe who just pops in from time to time to like steer things right so everything is on track, you know?
Yeah.
So we don't mess things up too badly.
Even in Good Omens, it's a show on, I think, Amazon Prime. There is an angel and a demon that are here, and the angel is named Israfel. And that is just like, you know, like a different version of saying, Tahuti or Thoth, you know, and his job was to kind of like look over and like kind of make sure we don't screw up too much, you know, and I was like, that's just, again, I was like, it's funny how they say Israfel and probably most people would have no idea that would translate over to Thoth or Tahuti. And then the demon's name is Crowley. So, I mean, it's just like, yo, this is so fucking obvious to me. You know? And the funny thing is that the funny thing is that the demon actually has more sense and more care for the fucking humans. It makes 0 sense. Because like the show's basically based on how like the Antichrist is here. And
really?
And like
Elon Musk.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. That the Antichrist is here, and the and like heaven is like, oh yeah, that's right. Everything's going the way it's supposed to go. Just let it happen. This and that, and hell's all excited. Oh, here comes our day. Blah blah blah. And Crowley's like, but yo, like, what the fuck? No, why? He's like, I forgot. I think he even said, he's like, what did the whales do? Like, we have to kill, like, almost everything? He's like, what did the kids do? You know, and he's like sitting there and he's like, this makes no sense. We're killing people that haven't done anything wrong yet. And the angel's like, well, it's just what we're told to do. That's what we're supposed to do. And eventually, like, Crowley gets the angel to, like, somehow, like, try to turn the Antichrist into a good kid that doesn't end the world. And it's just, like, so weird, but it's just, like, wild how, like, who's supposed to be... Yeah, who's supposed to be the demon is actually the one who, like, makes sense. You know, and it's like every time the angel tries to help somebody, it like ends up resulting in like death or like, you know, like an evolution of mankind in a bad way. It's just like so funny. It's just like this is so ass backwards, you know, technically. You know,
the demon comes from the word daemon, which is just a general name for a spirit. So it could be both good or bad. But the Bible, Christianity has taken that term demon and ran with it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's like, you could talk about that probably for hours about that word and what it really means, where it comes from, this and that. I mean, that's not even something I've even really, I mean, I've thought about touching on it, but it's just like so many different opinions and it could be so controversial. It's like, whatever. If you want to think whatever that word means, you go for it. Whatever makes you happy. Yeah. All right, so back to, sorry, I'm like keep taking you off. It's just you say a lot of things that make me think of other stuff. So interesting.
No, that's great. It's supposed to be a conversation,
yes,
not just me ranting for
for an hour and a half. Yeah, yeah. All right, so what else do you got then?
I think that's about it. I mean, we can talk about something else, but I think my notes are finished at least.
Yes,
I went through the. Yeah,
all right,
I've got one more.
All right, yeah. Name one more, and then like maybe just we'll run down them like again, like just real quick, so I can, you know, because I think there was a lot of examples. It's just I think between me bouncing back and forth, you know, we might have gotten lost of them, but there was actually a decent amount that you brought up that does tie like things to Jesus, in my opinion, for sure. So yeah. what's the other one?
The other one, who was Jesus crucified next to?
There's two thieves, right?
Hermes is the god of thieves.
I didn't even think of that. He's also can be a trickster. You know, yeah.
That's the duality of him, you know.
You know what's funny? That does come up in a lot. I think I could be wrong, but like I think even like qualities like that pop up in the Goetia. Like if you want to start using demons, like some of them are thieves, or some of them can like steal jewels and riches. And I do find it interesting how it's like, you know, it's
like ravens.
yeah.
Ravens. So this gets me into another. You know Odin from Norse mythology?
Yes.
Dies Mercury, they called him, the Romans. They think he was Mercury.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The king of the gods. And he had two ravens.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
And another interesting thing.
So I guess like having like black ravens or like a black bird, you could be like using that as like symbolism for that, correct?
Yeah. Thieves.
Yeah, because there's... oh, man, that just works in so many different ways now. Fuck, a thief. Oh, no, there's just somebody who I thought, in my opinion, was very, like, associated with the OTO, and they have a black bird on their whatever. And I think they're a thief, so... fuck. All right. So real quick, though, I do want to try to just backtrack a little bit. So we did have... There was like the whole thing with like even Metatron and like Thoth and you mentioned like Jesus. Now the sun. I thought the sun was an interesting one. How Mercury is the closest one to the sun. You said Enoch as well, correct?
Yes, Enoch.
Yeah, and what was I think you had like at least two or three other things. You don't have to get into it. Just like what was the comparison again?
one of Jesus' Enoch's titles of Metatron is the Lesser Yahweh.
Gotcha.
I'll check my notes, see if Master of Rhetoric, Messenger of the Gods, Caduceus, Healer. His role as a healer.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, that was another one that I was trying to remember. Yeah, the healing and the messaging, I think, is like, I mean, those are like really spot on in my opinion too. I mean, Tahuti or Thoth, I've also seen connected to Raphael, and most people may not.
Michael.
I've seen Raphael also because he heals. He has been known to. He had an ointment, and he does also carry a caduceus with him. You know, so I have seen.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, see, now this is when it can get confusing because sometimes and I think it is different. If you want to get into Kabbalistic, you start matching gods on the tree Kabbalistically. I think it is slightly different than if you want to stick to like planetary without the Kabbalah. So, like, I think it is Michael and Thoth that you will see like switches or things where it doesn't make sense. But I think he was known to having the caduceus.
Yeah, Michael.
And he did have.
Michael is the god of Mercury.
Yeah.
Or angel of Mercury, I mean.
And I think Raphael. Raphael would be more with the sun, I think. Because of the healing properties. But then again, I mean, then that again could the Son of God. I mean, so like if really anything, it's just bringing more validity to what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? But I have seen him associated with healing. I think there was something in the Bible. I think it was a small part where he might have had like something of some ointment, of some healing ointment on him or whatever after the flood or some shit like that. So he can be associated with healing as well. So I could see that with Jesus and Thoth by making a connection with Thoth and Raphael. You know, same thing with Jesus healing people. To me, it looks like a magic wand if you were to go look at this art, this architecture and the sculptures. Messaging, I mean, that's all he was doing was going around giving people messages. So.
Thoth is actually a moon god, which gets just interesting. The moon reflects the sun's light. I think Thoth is like a stepping stone into the sun, you know? He's like the way. I am the way, the life, the truth, and the.
See, that's what I think, and that's why I say like Thoth in the hero's journey and Jesus in the hero's journey. I do think that Thoth and Jesus are just like kind of one stage and a name for what that energy is doing at that time and like this long arc. So like you could have like Thoth, Hermes, Raphael. They could be the same thing, just maybe different stages in that timeline or in the travel up the tree or down the tree. And I think like the same thing with Jesus fits in. So like that's why I do think a lot of these things match, because it just like depends on like what personality that we're giving this energy or personification does this entity have now. But I do think it's all kind of like strung along one long story. I think in Jesus and Thoth fit into that. Going from, like I said, the 8th sphere, you go from the 8th sphere, which is Thoth, then you go to the 6th sphere. This is my opinion of the travel. The 6th sphere, which now Jesus would fit there. And then you go to the 4th sphere, which like Jupiter and other gods would go there. And then the 2nd sphere. But I think like you're seeing that whole arc. It's really the same thing. It's just a different story going along with it. And then I think you get the same thing with the feminine energy coming down the other way. I think that's like kind of like what goes along and helps create the manifestation of the universe.
So Thoth travels with Ma'at on the sun barge each night to that to me represents Ra, the sun, the father, Thoth, the son, and Ma'at, the female principle, the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the reason why I even started going off about that whole long thing with Thoth too is that like even in, I'll use 777, Crowley's 777, which I mean it's pretty much on point with like a lot of other things. They will have Thoth down as a moon god as well. So he's associated. That's the whole thing. This dude pops up all over the place.
Yeah,
he's not
everywhere.
just more than one. He's not just in one spot. I mean, he's traveling. He's making moves.
He's like the Joker in a playing cards.
And like
he play any role.
Yeah, a Joker. I like it. He's a clown. He's a fool. He can play the fool whenever he wants. We were saying before even about the, with Thoth, and like we were talking about the snakes. That was even making me think about like, Hermes and the snake. But like the lens. Now, my opinion, the lens, this is just me, could possibly be, I think that is Yesod. I think when it comes to the Tree of Life and the Kabbalah, that is like the machinery. It's considered the machinery of the universe. It is also an image maker. Now the lens is the one thing that actually is changing and moving what the Zanyals is in that changes everything else. If you really think about it, that is the machine that's actually moving in your eye that will change your pupil and all the different water and stuff. I could see Thoth being associated with the lens in a sense, because again, like he would be the snake's tongue on the caduceus that's attached to the lens that's moving it. It's like he's constantly walking. There's energy constantly going across that. You know what I'm saying? It's going from the end, the edge where the Zanyals are to the lens, and then, in my opinion, then the energy shoots up the hyaloid canal and goes back into the optic nerve. So like, again, there's that same arc you would even see on the tree in a sense, going up that way, because the hyaloid does bend in a sense. So I guess that whole long outdrawn thing is that like I could see how this is all just stages in a story, or even stages in your eye of moving across parts in your eyeball.
Yeah, you have the eye of Horus, and then you have the I think it's the left eye. Is the eye of Thoth.
Yeah, there's a difference between the eyes too. And you even mentioned something like, again, if I'm talking about like walking across a path on your eye or walking across the inside of your eye, crows I could see making sense, because that would go along with your pupil. There is going to be a black part of your eye. It's just pure black, So, and it, depending if your lens is rising or lowering, just like a bird rises or lowers. In fight or flight syndrome, either your pupil's small or it's big. Fight or flight, Birds, they fly. So I do think Thoth flies. It could technically. I mean, he's a winged bird. I even think Thoth, this is my opinion, I think Thoth eventually goes into Horus, in a sense. Like, I even think like he eventually changes into Horus. That's when he's like not so much of the statistical sense, and he's in the fight mode. That would be Horus. Yeah,
he's like the background character for the most part, but then he can also take on the role of the hero.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how does a lot of people become? I mean, I guess someone dying or whatever, but like, I mean, that's like the story now of how people come into power. I mean, regardless if it's real or not, you have to, kind of like defeat the king and queen, or take down what's in charge, and like kind of like, tell your story and show like, you're a hero. So it's like I even see how like that's even used nowadays to even like mind fuck people.
I just gotta say, from one thing to another, I fucking hate the modern superhero movies.
Yo,
I'm so tired of them.
You know what I think? And I've noticed it a lot with Marvel. If you look at Marvel from an occult aspect, it's actually like, it's just gonna sound crazy, but it's actually like the good guys are the bad guys. If I really do think so myself. It's really where like Thor's Love and Thunder. I think that guy was trying to get to Kether. He was at his holy guardian angel. There was a lot of symbolism inside the jail cell with the small child that's represented at Tiferet. there was just a lot of stuff. Like, even like when he got to that thing that he was at the end, it was very much like a lot of holy guardian angel shit. You can ask it for a favor. And all those gods were trying to do was just stop him from getting there. So it was like, it's almost as like if these all like the earthly things that are just trying to hold down the person's spirit to breaking out of the prison, and coming closer to God.
Samsara.
Yeah, and I was like, and they have us fooled thinking they're like superheroes, when actually it's like, no, you're actually fucking us. That's how I looked at it.
That's, Hermeticism is very hard to present, because different texts say different things. Sometimes they're saying opposing things. But one thing in Hermeticism is that people will be reunited with God once they're dead. So it doesn't really have this form of enlightenment. Like it's all about after you die, you will be rewarded or punished.
Yes.
There's no nirvana like blissful state here on Earth. Or there might be. I don't know. Satori maybe. But it's not a main part of the Hermetic doctrine. It's more about preparing. Like, this life is there to prepare for death, the afterlife.
Yeah,
and that's what the Egyptians did a lot.
Yeah, I thought that was like, I get it to an extent, but like I did even think like when I saw it wasn't that great of a movie. I think like, it was entertaining, but story-wise, it was the Gods of Egypt. The whole thing, Horus turns it around, and it's like, instead of like how I guess Set had it, how to like give up all your riches, which, again, if you start thinking of like certain parts in your eye being jewels and gems and all this like shit that even like Nuit talks about, if you're giving that up to go back into your optic nerve, I could see how maybe that does make sense to break out of here. Going through, cross the river of Styx, which again is, I just think, is your Zanyals of Zin, because they look like sticks, or going across, the river with Anubis. It ends up changing to where what you do here, basically the person who you are here will get you into heaven after you die. And I just kind of found it how it's like, is that really even like a much better option? I don't know. I just felt it was very limiting. In a sense, it was almost like ass backwards. Like, I don't know. You got to do good here to get to heaven, maybe while you're still alive, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Not waiting till death. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like that was just like, I don't know. And I think going by that, Horus kind of changed and made that like the law.
If we go by the Bible, Jesus entered heaven alive, and Enoch. So, who knows? Maybe you can enter heaven alive.
I think you can. I'm a fan.
I hope so.
I'm a fan for that idea. I think you can, get tastes of it. Real quick, I did see somebody throwing gematria up in there. Oh, no, it's not 42. Somebody did mention 42 in Hermes, but I swear to God, there's something that equals 42 in simple English that does tie back to a Hermes, a Thoth type thing. Sorry, I just happened to see that.
The holiest.
Yeah.
Somebody commented on that. I liked it.
Oh, maybe that's the whole donut thing in Twin Peaks. Maybe that's why David Lynch loves donuts and black coffee. Maybe that's like Thoth symbolism there. The holiest donuts. But thank you very much.
About anything.
Say that again.
About anything could be connected to Thoth.
Oh yeah,
guys everywhere.
Yeah, no, that is very true. Was there anything else you wanted to cover? I mean, it's not an hour, but it's close to it. And I mean, I think that was kind of. I mean, if you have anything else, go for it. But if not, I think we could probably wrap it up there. I think that was actually a pretty basic episode of just like Thoth tying to Jesus, which I think there's plenty of Thoth tying to a lot of characters. But Jesus is definitely one of them.
Well, I mentioned that the Romans thought Odin connected to Mercury. And I don't know when it was changed, but Sunday used to be the first day of the week. And that would make Wednesday the fourth day of the week. Hump day is called. The fourth day is the day in the middle of the week. The balance point. Point of balance. Wednesday, Odin's day.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
So that's another connection.
Yeah, I got to think about that. Unfortunately, that kind of puts me on the spot. Yeah, I'd have to actually sit down and think about that. Like, thinking about, like, magical correspondences if I was to switch that around. Wondering if, come up with anything interesting. I'll have to keep that in mind. Thank you. Do you want to plug
let's do this again sometime.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you ever have, like, another topic you want to come on and we'll just bullshit about it for sure. I thought that was fun. That was great. Do you want to let everybody know about your YouTube? Now, you don't have a podcast. You just have a YouTube, correct?
I've got a podcast, too.
Oh, okay. All right. What's the name of that?
I upload. It's the Library of Gnosis.
Oh, okay. All right. The same thing. All right. So after the show, you got to send me your link. And I'll upload
my videos to Spotify. They have video now.
Yeah. I tried doing that, and but because of like the size of the files with mine, instead of the show dropping at 7, it could end up like finally going through at like 2:00. Because I don't know what the deal is. Like, so I stopped doing that, and then there was times where they weren't dropping it at all, and then I was just like, whatever. But you also have is Spotify the only podcast you on, or are you on like all the Apple, Spotify, all those things?
Yeah, I'm on the most of them.
Okay, all right. So yeah, people
find me on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute.
All right.
I tried to spread it out,
All right, yeah.
In case I get taken down.
You only gave me your YouTube, so if you want, you can give me more links after the episode, and I will add them into the live, and I'll add them into the show notes. When I drop this, I'm probably gonna drop this next weekend as like an extra episode, because I'd end up making you probably wait like 6 weeks, and I don't want to do that. I have a bunch of episodes already done, so I'll drop it this weekend as like an extra one, and I'll put in all those links, because if you have all those, I don't mind getting them from you. Because like what you said, somebody could go to your YouTube, but your Rumble's still up, and YouTube went down, or this wasn't going to be good for YouTube, so you put it on Rumble. I do that with BitChute, so I'd prefer to have all your stuff for everybody to catch all the places you have your stuff at.
Perfect.
Yeah,
this has been great.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah, no, for sure, and it was good. I'm finally, to actually talk to you face to face after 2 months of emailing. I'm so sorry about that. We finally made it happen. We finally popped the cherry. We got it over with, and I'm sure I'll have more conversations with you again. So yeah, that is Simon from. Oh man, what was the name of your thing again? Sorry, I'm still. Library of Gnosis. Yeah, Library of Gnosis. Shit. Yeah, Simon from Library of Gnosis. His YouTube is in the bottom now, and I will get up his other links later. Again, thank you that was a really good and interesting and fun discussion. The fans in the chat seem to like it. Thank you very much. We had a bunch of people in there dropping their stuff. Currency Riddler, thank you very much for jumping in too. You always drop some like really interesting stuff, and I hope people check out what you're saying. Yeah, and the rest of you as well. PK, Y Rock. I don't even know how to pronounce your names. Sorry. Napoleon, Jonah, as usual. Thank you. I saw Megan in there from 7 Degrees that we're doing the Tarot series with. Check out her stuff. She's an amazing magician. And thank you again, Simon. That is enough out of me. And that is the end of another Occult Rejects. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.